Awesome. So that is our cue to start. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Greetings to parents, to incoming students, transfer students. I know there's a lot of emotions that are surfacing as we think about the beginning of a new fall semester. I am sending you all the good vibes, and we are here to present on the resources that we have to offer through the program on intergroup relations. Next slide. Thank you so much. My name is Cesar Vargas Leon. I use he, him pronouns, and I currently serve as IGR Senior Program Manager, where I'm charged over partnership work across the Division of Student Life. And I have the pleasure of co-presenting with Christina. So I'll go ahead and allow her to introduce herself.
All right. Thank you so much, Sace. Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Christina Morton. Please feel free to call me Christina. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the LSA Associate Director of the Program on Intergroup Relations. So my responsibilities include administrative leadership of the unit, but I also teach courses. I participate in our minor advising, and I conduct research related to our program. So a little bit of everything. And I really look forward to sharing more about our program with you during this presentation.
Thank you, Christina. And she forgot to mention good company. She continues to be being good company for myself. And to get us started, we'll just go ahead and hit you with the punchline. Our mission is to pursue social justice through education. And throughout the presentation, we'll tell you and unpack on what that means. Next slide.
So you might see some of these flyers around campus once you get here and get settled. Our program really focuses on providing students with exposure to social theory and experiential learning in order to learn more about yourselves, your social identities. So what do I mean by social identities? Race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, religion, sexual orientation. Those are examples of social identities. And we talk about how those identities relate to systems of power, privilege, oppression in our society. And so ultimately, we hope that by engaging students around these topics and having students participate in dialogues with each other across difference, we can prepare you to live in a really increasingly diverse world, to embrace differences around you and really advance equity and justice. So social justice is at the heart of what we do. We're really just looking forward to helping students work together to create a better world. That's what we're about in a nutshell. So some of the more specific things that we do with our program. So as we mentioned, we're a social justice education program. We talk about navigating across difference. So, if you're a part of a different racial group, you're going to interact with students who are different from you, discuss how those differences inform the way you show up in the world, what life is like for you, what access you might have to certain opportunities, different things like that. And we hope that by engaging in those conversations, you'll have a better understanding of those around you, and you'll be committed to doing the work of dismantling some of those systems of power that we talk about that contribute to racism, sexism, capitalism, things like that. We really hope that we equip students with the skills to surface dominant power dynamics. So when we say that, we mean where there are instances where there might be folks who are subscribing to prejudice that they might have, or believing that one group is better than the other. We are talking about these various things so we could break down those beliefs, those systems, and our students can feel prepared to have those tough conversations no matter where you are, and be ready to speak truth to power. So naming it when it happens, having the courage to disrupt or intervene when you notice those things in groups that you may be a part of, in classrooms, or just in your life moving forward. And so the major way that we do that is through intergroup dialogue. So bringing people together, to talk across difference. And we believe that participating in something like that will absolutely change your life. So I'm going to toss it to Sace to say a little bit more.
And what we do is not easy. And for that reason, we have an intentional process to facilitate the learning. And we start off with meeting every single individual where they are. We're very intentional about taking in the variable of the context, right? Like the state of affairs, where people come from, their background, their social identities. And based off of that, we gauge what folks need on the individual level. And together we create norms that we abide by that facilitate the way we want to behave and the way we want to hold each other accountable on a collective level. And through our individual and collective reflection, we build a more clear reality of what that is that we're up against as humanity. One of the most critical components that drives our work is real relationships. And this is not only with students, this is also with colleagues across IGR. The way we interact and engage go beyond the transactional model. So we know about each other's birthdays, we celebrate one another's accomplishments, we get to memorize all the values and important things that folks ascribe to. And we also share the tough things. We make space for us to lean on one another as we reckon with all the complexities that are unfolding on all layers of reality. And when we build vulnerability in real relationships, it leaves more genuine room to encourage social responsibility. And together we build blueprints. We help one another build blueprints to take actions as it pertains to how to go about making a more just world. The learning experience happens on two levels. So we have opportunities that operate within the curricular side, so in the classroom, and we have opportunities that unfold in the co-curricular side, which is outside the classroom. And in the next slide, we'll dive a little deeper and tell you more specifically about what those opportunities are. Before we expand on the opportunities, as Christina was mentioning, one of the things that we move forward is naming power. And the way we do that is by challenging the banking system. So the banking system is that we have been socializing with the norm within education that the purpose of the teacher is to transfer all their knowledge into the brains of students, and that's the goal. In our model, we name and we know that every individual, every student has knowledge, wisdom, and lived experiences worthy of being shared. And so for that reason, we use a peer-to-peer model. So we rely on co-creating knowledge, wisdom, and space with student colleagues. And this model is used in the classroom and outside the classroom as well.
Amazing.
Next slide.
Thanks, Sace. So just what Sace was talking about, right? We have these peer-led facilitation opportunities where you get to engage in dialogue with someone who's an undergraduate student just like you. And really the purpose of these conversations are to reflect on your lived experiences, your background, where you come from, what you've learned growing up about other groups and people. And really think about how those experiences are impacted by your social identities, right? So by your race, your socioeconomic status, your sexual orientation, your religion, things like that. And then you get to examine how those social identities impact your access to power and privilege and resources. So for example, we have a dialogue group that's focused on socioeconomic status. And so students come together across different status groups and discuss the ways that maybe how coming from a background of a high income socioeconomic status might influence certain opportunities that you had access to growing up. And perhaps how coming from a different socioeconomic background might have contributed to different opportunities that you've had a chance to participate in or not, right? And bringing students together to have those conversations give us a better understanding of what our world actually looks like and how we could work together to disrupt those systems of power and privilege that we have in society. And really, that gets to that last point, right? We want to equip our students to be change agents. We hope that by engaging in these conversations, by meeting other peers who are committed to social justice, who are curious about these topics like you are, that you'll be ready to go out in the world and really make a difference. That's the major goal. So let's keep going.
And as Christina was introducing us to the mode of communication being dialogue, dialogue differs from debate and discussion in very specific ways. So the currency in discussion is being connected to the norm, being connected to what's popular. While debate, the currency of debate is knowledge. Knowledge is the power in debate. In the words of our associate director, Roger Fisher, the currency in dialogue is lived experiences. And lived experiences is what's used to help us navigate through the 4 stages of our model. And one of the most important things that we utilize is reflection. We live in a society where it's go, 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 push, push, push. And it's very rarely that we get a chance to sit down and reflect on what we're experiencing on the day-to-day, to reflect on our social identities, to reflect on making conscious decisions. And so our stage 1, it's really about focusing on the group formation process and building relationships. And the reason why that's important, as I spoke to in the previous slide, is because trust and vulnerability is what opens up the door, helping us build more authentic spaces for us to share about our lived experiences. In stage 2, we utilize experiential learnings, whether it be activities or their socialization. So who do they grow up around? Who are they influenced by? How did their educational system influence the way of thinking? How did being surrounded by their environment influence what they think of success? And after folks individually reflect on their upbringing and how their environment influenced their way of thinking, we move forward to reflect on a group level. To the group level, we start naming and seeing patterns around commonalities and differences that are related to systems of oppression and how oppression is woven into culture, institutions, and larger structures. And usually in the curricular side, we have dialogue topics. So race is one of them. If race is the topic, we intentionally pick a group that holds more power. So who's in a privileged group, so a white racial group, and then a people of color racial group. And together we use history and the current state of affairs to unpack and learn about the reality of how folks experience life because of social identities at the intersection of power and privilege. As we become more aware of the truth and how complex it is, part of what we encourage our students is to step into their positionality and really think about what is in their power. How do they influence the University of Michigan? How do they influence their friend group? How do they influence their family? How do they influence themselves as the brain, the heart, and the body as spheres of influence? And we believe that these, not only do we believe, research has been proven that this has made a difference, and it continues to make a difference in the way folks relate to themselves and the way folks relate across differences. Next slide.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Says. And so if you are really excited about what we've shared thus far and what you're hearing from us, there's some different ways that you can get involved with our program. So 1, we have curricular opportunities. You can take courses with IGR. In fact, you can even get a minor in IGR. It's only 15 credits. We have a sequence of courses that you would take, and then you will be eligible to receive your minor certificate. And also, this is really, really exciting. You may not be thinking about graduate school just yet, but our IGR minors actually qualify for preferred admission to the Masters of Higher Education program at the University of Michigan. So there is a graduate program that's already waiting to receive IGR minors because of the experiences and the learning that you can gain as a part of this program. So there's a lot of opportunity, and I want to kick it over to Sace for our co-curricular.
Thank you, Christina. For the co-curricular, again, this means your involvement outside the classroom. If you're still undecided, if you don't know what you want to major or minor, the co-curricular side is a great way for you to experience what that is that we have to offer. If you're interested in being in community with folks who are interested in moving forward social justice through education, if you're interested in exploring how your social identities influence the way you see yourself and the way you see your future, the co-curricular offerings of IGR are the perfect way to start. And we have 3 co-curricular offerings. The first one is known as Common Ground. Common Ground is a peer-to-peer model. So again, the leadership is led out by students. 2 graduate and 4 undergraduate students train, coach a group of 15 to 20 facilitators. And the purpose is to serve the University of Michigan community students, whether it be student organization, courses, or student colleagues working at other departments. And the offerings are workshops that are fostered or focused on social justice through education. So anything between social identity 101, communicating across differences, power privilege, group dynamics, you name it. So if you're interested in leadership development, join the programming team as an option. If you're interested in learning about facilitation through a dialogic approach, being a workshop facilitator is the pathway. Additionally, we have a student experience team that focuses on recruiting, retention, and making sure that we're utilizing the student voices to inform the way we move as a unit. The student experience team is charged over creating an authentic community of and making this world a better place. And so there is student learning opportunities through the student experience team. And you could also help us in recruiting and continue on building an authentic community of folks interested in social justice. Lastly, if you think about working with K through 12, specifically high school students, we have summer youth dialogues where you have the opportunity to facilitate intra-group and intergroup dialogues with youth in the Detroit area. The goal is for them to be more cognizant and for them to learn about how race plays a role in the way Detroit has unfolded and changed over history. And the ultimate goal is to charge and help the youth to become empowered and to step into their agency to instill change in their communities. Anything else that I missed, Christina?
No, you covered it, Sace. Amazing. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our courses. So first, a lot of our courses are actually cross-listed with psychology and sociology. So if you're majoring in psych or soc, getting a minor in IGR is pretty simple to do. And we believe that our course offerings have benefits for students, no matter what department, no matter what major you're in, school or college, there is something for you at IGR. So first, we have ALA 122, which is our intergroup dialogues course. And we spent some time talking about that earlier, but again, those are our peer-to-peer led groups on different topics. So our dialogue groups have covered race and ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender and sexuality, just to name a few. And so you'll get to engage in a small group of students just like you, have these important conversations across difference, and be led by more advanced students, so upperclassmen who are facilitating these dialogues. Then we have ALA 170, which is social identity, social inequality, and social media, an introduction to IGR. So this is a great introductory course that really talks about current issues and events in relation to what we do in intergroup relations. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for you to get your feet wet and explore what we have to offer. Also, we have ALA 171, which is making the most of Michigan. This is a great course to really get helpful campus resources, understand how to navigate the big university that we are a part of at Michigan, and also experience that peer-to-peer facilitation as well, since we have students who are helping to co-instruct those classes. Then we have ALA 220, which is our foundations of intergroup relations, really just giving you a good understanding of the history of the work that we do, the program that we're a part of, and it's one of our core courses for our minor. And then there's ALA 320. So we talked a lot about 122, where you actually get to participate in the dialogue. In 320, students are actually trained to be dialogue facilitators. So the folks who are facilitating the dialogues in 122 have been trained in ALA 320. And then they actually spend time with our staff and instructors and get the coaching, skill development, and training that they need so that you feel equipped and prepared to go lead a group dialogue of your peers. And then there's 321. And that's for the students who've gone through the 320 training and they're actually out doing the facilitation with other undergraduates at U of M, and they're receiving additional support with their co-facilitators during our practicum course. Then there's 370, advanced special topics. So we actually have students who are practicing their facilitation skills with high school students in the Ann Arbor Ypsilanti area. So actually going into high schools and facilitating dialogue on the topics that we discussed. And then we've got ALA 429, which is our senior capstone. That's, again, one of the courses that's in our sequence for our minor. And then we have ALA 471, which again is the facilitation component to our ALA 171 course, where students actually get to be the facilitators of that class and gain training and expertise in doing that. So that's just a snapshot of some of our course offerings. We really, really hope that you join us at some point during your time here at Michigan. It will be wonderful to have you in the classroom. All right.
Thank you, Christina. I was a student and I graduated from U of M in 2011. And honestly, I wish I would have heard of the program on intergroup relations. I am lucky to have learned from the department as a professional, not only based off of the multi-university research that was conducted in the early 2000s. It showcases that students are really learning. Students are really becoming more self-aware as it pertains to their social identities in the way that influences the way they make sense of the world and the way they relate to people and organizations as a whole. The research also proves that students do learn how to listen and how to ask intentional questions to learn about people's experiences. And personally for me, I think that as a first generation college student, as a first generation immigrant, I learned a lot about how my, coming from a Mexican background, coming from a lower social economic status, how that influences my mentality, how that influences me in terms of my survival and the way I think about thriving. And it also challenged me to think about my privileged identities, like being a man. And not only did it equip me to be able to talk about those dynamics as I supervise folks who identified outside the gender binary or that are influenced by all the inequalities at the face of patriarchy, it also influenced the way I relate to my mom and my sisters. And I'd say that I was able to create better blueprints on how to communicate across differences in general. And one of the most important foundational skills that helped me get there was learning how to listen. It took me a long time to name that through my socialization in the educational system, I was taught to listen, to respond. Through IGR, I really learned listening to listen people's stories. And while seems very simple, learning to listen and learning to humanize people's stories is one of the most powerful steps that we could take in interrupting dominant narratives. And one of the ultimate goals is for us to become more conscious of the decisions that we're making. Again, especially at the University of Michigan, there's a lot of pressures to compete academically, to compete in leadership. And when we're always on the run, it's rarely that we, again, have a time to reflect and think about our actions. So through this process of reflection on our social identities and the way we act unconsciously, we give ourselves permission to really think about, whoa, like, is that really what I meant to say? Or why am I having these thoughts about X group? Or why are these behaviors showing up? Why do I feel uncomfortable in a space of X folks with these identities? And so it just teaches to be more conscious, and it teaches you to also name that is much bigger than you. And it's that it's not your fault. And together we build an environment where our role is to take care of one another. For I believe that radical wellness is one of the most important pillars of social justice. And when we build a nurturing space for ourselves, and when we build a nurturing space for one another, we are able to choose more intentionally. We're able to make healthier choices to impact our sphere of influence.
Awesome. Thank you, Says. All right. So if you are curious about how to connect with our program, how to learn more about our courses, for general information, please feel free to go email igr.info@umich.edu. For more information about our courses, please email igrcourses@umich.edu, and we will respond to you as fast as we can with anything that you are curious or have questions about. And again, this flyer has a QR code right at the bottom left-hand corner. If you scan that with your phone, you can be able to access our mobile landing page, which again has more information about our course program. It's a quick place to go if you have anything that comes up that you may have seen in this presentation that you want to follow up on. And I just want to express my gratitude for your curiosity about IGR. We really hope that during your time at Michigan, we'll have a chance to get to know you, to support you, and to just continue to bring you into our community. It's a really great space to be, and the students that we work with are absolutely phenomenal. And so we hope to be a source of community and relationship building for you, and also just support your growth and learning during your time here.
Thank you, Christina. And just to make space, we might have a few people that are tuning in right now. If you have any questions, feel free to drop anything in the Q&A. If you're watching this after it's been published, as Christina mentioned, feel free to reach out to IGR and the info provided in the previous slide. And we're wishing you all the best as y'all transition into the fall semester.
Yes. And again, here is our personal contact information. If you want to get in touch with us, please do not hesitate. We are always happy to hear from students and point you in the right direction for information, whatever we can do to be of support while you're here. That's what we're about. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to put it in the chat and the Q&A function. We want to answer anything that comes to mind. Would it be helpful to stop screen sharing now? Or, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I know there's at least one person tuning in. So if you have any questions, let us know. We're here to support you.
Absolutely. While we wait, I also want to take a moment and share a little bit about my IGR journey as well. I actually attended the University of Michigan as an undergraduate student, and I did not know about IGR. But I was fortunate that when I came back for graduate school to U of M, I learned about this program and I knew that I had to get involved. I was so excited about the content of what folks were learning, actually having a space where I could have genuine conversations about the things that mattered to me, not feeling uncomfortable talking about race, talking about power, talking about privilege and oppression, and really engaging with folks who wanted to make a change in the world was so powerful. So
Mm,
actually the first way that I got involved was with Common Ground. So again, speaking of our co-curricular opportunities, I was a workshop facilitator. And then from there, I was like, how can I get more of this? And I moved into our curricular side, where I served as a graduate student instructor for one of our courses. And it just kept going from there. And so after I finished with my doctoral program, got my PhD, there was an opening in IGR, and I knew that that was a space where I wanted to be. Um, I believe that education is a really powerful tool for social justice. And if you're a person that really cares about changing the world for the better, teaching, engaging in dialogue, building these types of relationships, I think can be so integral to that work. And the skills that I gained way back when I was a workshop facilitator certainly apply now, even as I'm in this professional role with the program, and has applied in spaces that I've been in between, right? I use this stuff with my family. It is
mm.
applicable everywhere. So just
I
want to
have a,
tie that in.
I have a follow up for you, Christina. What should folks expect, right? Like, what's one of the things that they should expect, whether it be something exciting, or what are the challenges of choosing to commit to social justice?
Ooh, I love that question, Faith. You know what? I think that probably the biggest lesson for me in all of this is that the work is going to always be ongoing. There isn't a place that you arrive where you feel like, I finally understand it all. I've got all of this, just completely together. I know, what I'm going to do in the world. It's a constantly evolving um, time of learning and evolution for yourself, and the personal growth that I've experienced by just being exposed to the knowledge and the people who are a part of this community. When we say it's life-changing, it could sound cliche, but I kid you not, it is life-changing, because like, okay, I'm around all of these other people who are committed to not just a single cause,
Mm,
but who understand that my life, my ability to be liberated as an individual is connected to the collective liberation, the
mm,
dismantling of all of these different systems. So it's like, if I want to combat sexism, I'm fighting racism. If I want to fight capitalism, I'm fighting homophobia. Like, all of these things are connected. Our shared humanity is what we're fighting for. Our
mhm,
shared humanity and liberation is what we're fighting for. And that requires constant learning, unlearning, change, evolution, growth. It's nonstop. So yeah, I think for me, that realization, there's no stopping point. There's always
yeah,
going to be something. Um, but being open to that has been huge for me. What about
yeah.
you, Stace? What would
I
you say?
resonate with everything you shared, and specifically, I was just thinking about, for me, when I was graduating from my master's program, again, I'm the first one in my family to make into these spaces, and for a long time, I thought myself as woke, and I feel like when I really got it, when I really got to the point where I even understood how I perpetuated nuances so that sustain these systems of oppression, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to be part of organized institutions. I wanted to go back and live off of my dad's land in Mexico. And fortunately, I came across IGR. One of my good friends who was part of IGR while he was doing his master's said, "Hey, Sace, this is your line of work. You're always thinking about social justice. You're always thinking very critically. You should give it a shot." And to Christina's point, I think for me, one of the things that the way this experience liberated me was that I was always socialized around my occupational identity. So the only way I knew myself was as a worker, being successful, getting to the point where I was making enough money to get myself out of survival and hopefully get my family outside of survival. And I remember this clearly when I started working here as a professional, my supervisor at that point, I remember I was clocking in at the end of the day, my first day, and my supervisor saw that I was putting my laptop to go home. And my supervisor said, Says, I see you're putting your laptop in your bag. Are you taking it home? If you are, it made me feel a lot more comfortable as your supervisor if you left your laptop here.
Oh.
After 5 o'clock, I want you to invest in who you are outside of work. And honestly, it was really challenging because I didn't know myself outside of the lens of work. And so I really started to tap into how radical wellness was part of liberation and how I needed to learn how to invest myself through the lens of pleasure and play, and how I really needed to reclaim my joy, my laughter as a contribution to the collective liberation. And it's an ongoing journey. I think that I've come a long way. And one of the things that I appreciate the most is that I think, at least in my experience, when it comes to social justice, there's a lot of folks that know how to talk the talk, right? Folks know how to intellectually talk about social justice. It's a different story to see them live it out. And I think at IGR, the students, the faculty and staff, they're real about, leading out through action. And I think that accountability, the space, the healing that comes along with folks being willing to being a mirror for you and allowing you to see your strengths and also your areas of growth is one of the things that I don't know how to put words around. I'm just incredibly thankful for.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
You're making me think of another question.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about, to your point of how your supervisor at the time invited you to rest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about our philosophy at IGR around student colleagues and what we mean when we say that someone is a student colleague?
Yeah, I think our philosophy is really around how do we use this as an opportunity for students to learn to see what it means to be connected to institutions in a formal setting and introduce them to the possibilities that are possible when you think outside of the norm. So what I mean by that, one of the most simple things that we do when working with student colleagues is making space to hear about how they're doing and to learn about their lives. Some people are caught off, they see an agenda and they feel uncomfortable spending time checking in, like, hey, like how's your weekend? Share a highlight. What's one of the things that made you laugh? Or what are the stories? Right? We hear about issues with woodchucks that what folks are having. We hear about highlights that students are experiencing on the ground as it pertains to like their family, their accomplishments. And through that, we really get to introduce them to what it means to humanize the process. And I think that then goes into helping them see how their lived experiences at the intersection of their social identities really matters, right? So for me, I think that I had a big learning curve when I was supervising a group of um, all women identifying, all a team that was full of all women identifying folks. And through the process, we got to name the reality. Yeah, like patriarchy is a thing. Yes, like there is power that I have as a man in this position. And I think that investing in the relationship as a process also helped them reimagine what was possible, even though they hadn't had a healthy relationship with a male supervisor. Taking the time to invest in their story and every single day through small actions, proving that I was here for the good work, allowed them to liberate and heal in their own ways. And I think that's just a couple ways, right? So introducing them to how wellness and the humanization is really important and a critical component to our work. In that while there is a lot of conflict at the intersection of privileged identities and oppressed identities, that there is a time where we have to lean into uncomfort and heal together.
I love that. I love that so much. Of course, I love it because I'm a part of IGR and I see it happening every day, but I love to hear it said too. For those of you that'll be watching this later and who are watching it right now. I think that it might also be worthwhile to share a little bit about like really what our classes look like, right? So, we're throwing out a lot right now, and it might seem overwhelming. It might seem like, whoa, we're doing a whole lot in a semester. How is this possible? But really, like Sace was sharing earlier with our 4-stage model, it is a step-by-step process. We take our time through the whole semester. We start out, you'll come into the classroom, you'll create shared norms and expectations of one another so that you and your peers could hold each other accountable, like in that dialogue space. Or if it's not specifically a dialogue, even in our foundations course, no matter what class you take with us, we create those shared norms. We understand what folks' concerns are coming into the space, areas where they want to grow. Then we build our way to this content. So when you come into a class with us, it's not where you might experience that traditional kind of, okay, pick sides, we're going to debate. No, we create an atmosphere where you feel like, okay, I can be vulnerable, or I could be really courageous or brave right now and share my story, because my lived experience, my personal knowledge is valued, it's appreciated, and it's essential for us to co-create the learning experience together. So, I think something else that we always tell our students is that, there won't always be a definitive conclusion, right? It's like you can expect that there's more to learn, that there'll be some unfinished business, but that's a part of our call and our charge to our students to go out and continue the work, to take their learning and make change in their communities and their families, whatever your sphere of influence is. Like, that's really big for us. So, and you could always take another class or find another co-curricular opportunity with IGR to keep it going too.
Yeah, and you could always find us once you get to know campus on South University, there is a Starbucks. We're located directly above Starbucks. So even if you're not ready to take one of our courses or become part of our curricular experience, come through, come check out our space, come study in our space, come get to know us. The invitation is open for you all.
Yes, 1214 South University Avenue. We're on the second floor, Suite B.
Mm-hmm.
Find us, we are there. We welcome students coming into the space to study, to relax, to recharge, to have conversation, even to sit in silence and just, have somewhere to come where you can be completely yourself. We want that.
And with that, if it's cool, I mean, for the last few minutes, we were off script. That's what just happens when you just create some good vibes and frequencies with good people. And I always appreciate facilitating with Christina, and I look forward to continuing the good work with you, Christina, and everyone else who decides to move with us in one way or another. And with that, Christina, do you have anything else before we close out?
No, just an expression of gratitude. Whether you're watching now or you'll watch later in the future, we are grateful for you. We hope to get to know you and support you. And Sace, I'm very grateful for you and to have the chance to co-facilitate with you today. It was a joy and a pleasure. That's all I got.
All right, y'all. Be well.